We have some breaking news that has just dropped that changes everything for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Following what has been a healthy training camp for the Leafs and a very good one, we have a brutal injury update that changes the landscape of this entire team. I'm going to break down exactly what that is, as well as discuss some other updates. We are now just days away from the beginning of the regular season. A ton to go over, but before we get into it all, if you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been absolutely fantastic. If you're a part of that percentage, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Darius, not the video we wanted to be making this morning. Of course, we're now just a few days away from the beginning of the regular season, and news dropped just moments ago. And let's just dive right into it because it is an unfortunate one. Now, it's not Austin Matthews, it's not any of the top six guys, but it is someone who's had a very impressive camp thus far, especially after his 4-point game there a while back. David Kampf is wearing a Regulars jersey as the Leafs announced that Scott Laughton is out week to week with a lower body injury. So, I guess this came in yesterday's game. Darius, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, Scott Laughton, that fourth line was looking to be a difference maker. This has obviously a ton of implications here. Seems that David Kampf is going to be the one who I guess is going to be making the team out of, or making the opening night lineup. It could still be Calle Jarnkrok, but of course they need a center, so David Kampf makes the most sense here. And it of course also confirms even more that Easton Cowan is going to be making this team. But Laughton is out for what we presume is going to be a month. I mean, we don't have much more information at this point, but we'll soon. He's out for a while.
Yeah, and unless he fell down the stairs at home after the game, it did happen in the game. And, it's really unfortunate. This is actually devastating for not just the team, but the player, right? Like he's had a really good camp after everything that happened last year. And a lot of people, through the offseason were saying, what a bad trade. And, they should have never traded for him. He's not worth a first round pick or anything like that. He had a pretty good training camp. And I knew that, coming into this year, he needed to get acclimated to the system again, right? Like last year, a lot of the guys who came in around the trade deadline looked a little uncomfortable to me. So he finally looked pretty comfortable. He's putting up points. That fourth line looked really good. And like you mentioned, Cowan's not a center, but I feel like now more than ever, he's going to be making this team, right? Like he's going to be on that fourth line. But now David Kampf's there, who's a different player. So what's the dynamic there? They haven't gotten a game in. So this is devastating, I think, for the player. And obviously, the team, that fourth line, they had some chemistry going. So not ideal. We're not going to see the lineup at full strength going into the season. Week to week could mean a lot of things. Like you said, it could be a month. It could be just a week. We don't know, but he's going to miss the season opener, which is very unfortunate. But it does suck. There are some other interesting updates from, practice this morning already as well. But David Kampf looks like he's going to be factoring in. It's not going to be anybody else. He was wearing obviously the extras jerseys before. Now it looks like he's going to factor into the lineup on opening night. So pretty interesting turn of events here. Did not expect this to happen, but that's what happens in this sport. But we'll see what happens the rest of the way with the lineup. But it looks like it'll just be Kampf in his spot and some things to figure out before the start of the regular season in terms of the other lines as well. But pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty. Lawton's gone now for at least what we expect to be a couple weeks. Could be longer. I mean, week to week could be a lot of different things. So very unfortunate, like you mentioned. Very, very good in the a very good player overall. Had a really bad second half of his season last year with the Leafs. Pretty rough playoff run, but that fourth line was something we talked about a lot. You mentioned, I mean, in your stream yesterday, he was looking really good, and the whole line was looking really good in yesterday's affair. We won't get to see it at least at the start. However, next man up. I guess the good news is, if there's anything to take from it, the Leafs didn't trade David Kampf away, so at least they have somebody here who can fill in and be serviceable, and that's hopefully what he can be. It does change the dynamic though with Easton Cowan, and maybe Easton Cowan now takes an elevated role in being kind of a goal scorer on that fourth line because Scott Laughton is now out. Lorentz, Kampf, and Laughton seems to be the fourth line there, at least the pseudo fourth line for now. But some more news here: Stolarz is not with the main group for practice today. He was busy in net last night. Dennis Hildeby and James Reimer are the goalies at practice today. So any thoughts on this year before we go into some very interesting details that have dropped following, of course, what was a brutal playoff run last year, losing to the Panthers? Yeah, Stolarz not net makes some sense. I guess the battle is still between Hildeby and Reimer. All signs point to Reimer at this point, but still notable.
Yeah, I think this is interesting, and I want to see who gets the start in the game tomorrow night because I think that will tell us a little bit about who will be the backup. So that's going to be interesting. I think Reimer, the reason he hasn't been with the main group a lot is because he needs to get acclimated to, the training facilities again, get back with the group, all that, so get back on his feet and back on skates and stopping pucks and stuff like that. So I would expect him to still be the backup goaltender for when the regular season opens because there's no update on Joseph Woll right now. So that'll be interesting. And just to make a note of it, Stolarz is not not practicing with the main group, but he's still on the ice. He's not injured or anything. He's out there getting work in, so that's fine. But he did have a very large workload last night because a lot of the Leafs took the night off, a lot of the top guys. So got in some good work last night. He looked great. He's going to be ready to go, but no injury or anything like that. He's just doing his own thing, getting work in, but not with the main group.
Yeah, pretty good game. Very good game for Sellers, actually. Yes, like 39 saves or something like that. So pretty impressive.
40.
Ready to go. Exactly what we need. A couple other things now. This one ages not poorly, but kind of sad, I guess. Laughton recently spoke out about Easton Cowan's impressive camp, but why he doesn't want to say too much to him. Yeah, we've talked through our camp a little bit, being on the same line. I don't really want to say too much to him. I think he's pretty good right now, so I kind of let him play, and that's it. Good news is Easton Cowan, he's not hurt, and obviously the bad news is Scott Laughton, who I think was actually going to be, poised to put up not only a good season, but put Easton Cowan in a position to succeed given his veteran leadership here. He's going to be out for a little bit. I suspect we'll hear from Berube today or tomorrow. Again, we're only 5 days away now from October 8th, so 5 days away from the opening night game. Brutal injury, and I'm curious to see where exactly this came from. If someone maybe has footage that from the game where we saw him get hit or anything like that. Lower body injury isn't super specific, but Darius, I do want to shift gears for a second and dive into what happened or what came out yesterday in the Amazon documentary about the Game 7 loss and just throughout that series. And you can see here, Berube absolutely ripped into the team. I mean, rightfully so. This was his first year as Leafs head coach. The Leafs played some really bad hockey down the stretch there. You can see crazy behind the scenes footage of Craig Berube laying into the Leafs last year is unbelievable. Note when Austin Matthews kicked out the cameraman as the team arrived after the period. Feel free to read the top. I'm not going to do it. Darius, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, it was very good. Nylander, again, is showing that he cares a lot, obviously. So does Austin Matthews. Mitch Marner is now gone. And Berube, very, very mad. But also, the good news is this is exactly what you want out of a coach. And I think his was a bit more authentic than Sheldon Keefe's previous years.
Yeah, so full transparency, I haven't watched the Leafs episode yet. I haven't gotten there yet, but there's some clips coming out and some quotes coming out already because people skipped to that episode, of course, the nature of that. But there have been some clips that have come out and some quotes. And a lot of people are going to rip the Leafs for what's shown in this documentary. And apparently Matthews, a lot of his stuff was ripped from it completely, from the show completely. So there's very little of him. He does kind of, kick out the camera crew at one point, which I thought was interesting, out of the locker room. We don't know what game that's from. We're going to have, once I watch it, we'll get some more insight on that, but kicks out the camera crew. A little bit more tame than what we saw from the Edmonton Oilers in the final last year in that clip. But there was another clip on the bench, and I assume it's from Game 7. It's either Game 5 or Game 7 against the Panthers. And Berube is just absolutely ripping into everyone and basically challenging Austin Matthews as a leader on the bench, which I think is great from your coach to your captain. I like that, right? Obviously, there was no response in either game. We know how that played out. But I think this, is going to give us an interesting behind-the-scenes look, at least to some degree, of what happened last year. And William Nylander, he was going off on Nylander as well, because it's no surprise. I love William Nylander, but man, when he's not going, he looks really ugly out there. And we saw that at times last year too. But he is good in the playoffs too, right? So definitely going to take a watch at this. If you haven't yet, watch that episode. I'm sure it's going to be good just from the clips and the quotes that have come out so far. And there's some quotes from another player. I'll tease it like this. I've just seen this online. That boy, oh boy, does it make everything look so much worse. So things are hopefully going to change this season, and the mindset will be a little bit different with how the team plays. But pretty interesting stuff from this documentary. As always, we got some interesting clips last year that we still talk about even till now.
Yeah, they were down 3-0. It was Game 7. You were right with that when he called those guys out. So it's going to be interesting. Not a lot of, good news today. Obviously, today was a rough one with the Scott Laughton injury. The good news you can take out of it was Anthony Stolarz' game last night. And quickly, before I wrap up as well, the Maple Leafs doing a very good thing as they're honoring retiring play-by-play legend Joe Bowen on December 16th. There's any quick thoughts on this before I wrap up here? He's obviously entering his last season behind the mic. Yep. His 44th. Congratulations to him, and that's obviously going to be he's been around since 1982, which is a little bit wild.
Yeah, absolute legend of the game. So I hope they do it well. I hope they do it right. It should be a huge thing. This kind of flew under the radar in the summer too. We should all be talking about this all throughout the season. What the Rangers did for Sam Rosen last year was incredible. So I hope it's something similar to that. But he deserves all of his flowers for the rest of the year. I'm glad their ceremony for him is against the team that he first started calling Leafs games against, which is the Chicago Blackhawks on that night. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we should celebrate him all throughout the year. He's an absolute legend. And it's not going to sound the same without him. So shout out to Joe Bowen, and that should be a fun night.
Yeah, let's have our thoughts on this. Obviously, an unfortunate injury. We'll keep you up to date every step of the way. Thank you for watching. See you guys later.